Hello friends, this is your friend back with a new fanfic. What if Naruto's mission changed the lives of Sakura and Hinata? Episode 1. If you like this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Now, let's start. The morning air had a crisp smell to it and the atmosphere was hazy with a thick fog. It had been raining the past few days and the ground, being damp as it was, would swallow even the tiniest of feet if the owner was not careful. However, this was not a problem for the infamous Uzumaki Naruto. Using his chakra in the soles of his feet granted them freedom from the hungry ground. As the blonde grew older, he had developed an arrogance that could be comparable to that of Uchiha Sasuke. In fact, the male was his source for learning bad attitudes. Being best friends with the Uchiha, you couldn't help but become arrogant. It was the only way Naruto could keep up with him through the many years of constant back and forth bickering and fighting. I have something you may consider exciting. Tsunade's serious tone played in his head as he recollected this morning's events. But do not take it lightly. The Hokage gave Naruto the opportunity for something of an odd and serious mission. A rogue ninja. You don't know where he came from. Naruto's excitement built up as he fantasized fighting the unknown. That is what worries me. Of course, being a ninja there is stealth and an unknown identity brought to the table, but for something so serious as to murder 9 of our citizens, while Konoha is at peace with every village. The Hokage did not attempt to hide her fears of what could be manifesting outside their village. Naruto waved his hands about. Don't worry, Grandma. I can handle this, no problem. Tsunade smiled softly. Of course, I think you may need some help though, and since I have been a little stern on Uchiha, I was thinking I could let this be his first mission as a Konoha ninja once again. A small smile tugged at Naruto's lips. To think of the many years since he and Sasuke had worked together on a mission together and on the same side, the bittersweet thought only lingered though. No, I believe I can do this mission on my own. I don't need someone like Sasuke to help me. There was the idiotic arrogance, but Naruto didn't care. He still felt a little tense around the Uchiha. They barely even spoke since Sasuke's coming back home. I can understand you not wanting him to come with you right now, then perhaps someone else should travel with you, maybe. No, Hokage. I want to do this on my own. As in, by myself. He made sure to have sharp pauses after each word. I have proven myself as a ninja in many circumstances and I need to feel that I can. Poor Tsunade, the blonde thought absently while patrolling the area, having all that paperwork piled up on her desk. When I become Hokage I will hire someone specifically for paperwork. His mind wandered towards a certain raven-haired male. Oh, how angry he would be. An evil chuckle rang through the youth's head. For a moment he couldn't tell if it was he himself, or the large demon living within. It was scary when he couldn't tell between them anymore. A sudden pain throbbed just as a warm and wet sensation engulfed his right ear. Ah! He reached up and covered his bloodied ear as he cursed himself for letting the enemy catch him off guard. The kunai knife that had made contact was already being swallowed by the ground behind him. The rogue ninja made himself present to the eyes and charged Naruto. Come here boy. The snake-like voice was almost as terrifying as his old enemy, Orochimaru, and sent a shiver down the blonde's spine. The mysterious fiend flung his arms around in what seemed to be sporadic confusion, but obviously a very successful style of fighting, for Naruto could not tell how to dodge properly as he was cut 1, 2, 3 times across his midsection. We need you. Who the hell are you? Naruto did not like this creepy outburst. A psychotic murderer he was assigned to track down. Needed him. What the hell is going on? He held a hand over his chest where the deepest blow was made and pulled his own kunai knife out once given a breather from the fury of attacks. The ninja never gave a response to Naruto's question. He only stood there, facing Naruto's direction in such a casual way as if meeting for the first time in a normal setting. The hair on the back of Naruto's neck rose and pinpricks ran all down his back. He stood a good 2 feet taller than the young ninja and wore nothing but plain, black clothing from head to toe with a small bulging pack strapped to his back. His face was completely covered by a mask and gave no sign of mouth or eye holes. I am not afraid. I am not afraid. I am not afraid. Hey, you must not be able to hear through that tasteless mask of yours. I asked. Who the hell are you? Naruto cupped his hands around his mouth, purposely taunting the enemy. You need not worry about it much, this will not take long. A funny-looking lantern was pulled from the pack. An ominous hum vibrated from the object as it seemed to be smoking. Little puffs of purple and blue came out of the object and left a small haze around the two ninjas. Oh crap, he's planning on escaping. I gotta. The kunai slipped from Naruto's hands. What? His feet submerged into the thick, chilly marsh. I can't move, he's. Naruto was down on his knees, but able to keep his torso upright. Gonna kill me, isn't he? The ninja's face was a mystery, completely covered still as he came to stand before Naruto, yet somehow Naruto knew the most malicious of smiles and gleaming eyes were staring back at him behind that mask. You will not feel a thing. I promise. And Naruto closed his eyes. Will he be okay, doctor? Well, he should, but this will be a difficult thing for him to face once he wakes up. That ninja, he could have killed this boy easily, why would he do this to him instead? It is so inhumane and odd. There are some incredibly sick people in the world, my dear, but I know exactly what I would do once I woke up. Get revenge, right? No, I would do myself a kindness and end everything. Doctor, come now. Can anyone around this place take a joke? Naruto felt his mind slowly gain consciousness as the voices played in his head. The words were sluggish and garbled as he tried to come to. I don't feel so good. His body ached like it never had before. He tried recalling what happened, but came close to retching and chose to let his mind just float freely from extreme concentration. Very slowly he let his eyes open and blink a couple times. Everything was obscure in his blurred vision, but he knew instantly that it was a hospital room. Nothing was as welcoming and exciting as a vibrant white room. As he blinked a couple more times, the couple of chattering figures around him came to view. Doctor, he's awake, spoke the female in nurse attire. She started scribbling something down on her clipboard as she departed from the room. The doctor turned his attention to Naruto and smiled a little half-heartedly. He looked to be young for a doctor, maybe in his early 20s. Not only did he have brains for his job, but a face girls would drool over too. His nicely combed brown hair barely reached his eyebrows that arched over stunning deep blue eyes. This guy had no glasses though, what the hell? Hello Mr. Perfect. Have you met Uchiha Sasuke or Hyuga Neji? The world was full of these guys, what's next? He has crazy eye tricks too. Please, I'm tired of that cliché with just two of them. Ah, so he is, welcome back, Naruto. I'm your doctor, Dr. Sato. The tone was not to Naruto's liking. Something within it shook like a leaf. Great, something is wrong with me. You will not feel a thing. I promise. Everything rushed back to him like a long-lost memory forgotten and left the pit of his stomach feeling sour. That maniac did something to Naruto, but what? His entire body felt beaten, it was hard to tell where the source of the hurt came from. Anything could have happened. This was when Naruto took in the IV attached to him as well as many bandages to his arms from previous needle injections. A sharp pain shot up his spine if he even thought about moving his legs around. Dear God, what the hell happened? This was obviously more than being banged up a little. Red-hot fire burned between his legs and ripped up his midsection, stifling a tearful scream from Naruto's lungs. The boy panted as he pressed back against the bed and let out a more satisfying scream towards the pain. I never cleared up everything with Sasuke. Naruto's eyes were watering, but not from the supposed future life cycle. The pain was becoming too much for him to handle. Just when he thought it was going to break everything in his body, a very pleasing and cool sensation pulled through his veins. Thank God for IVs and anesthesia. He was thankful he could breathe in some other form besides borderline hyperventilating. Dr. Sato made sure the IV did its job on Naruto before pulling up a chair to the bedside. I can assure you, you are not dying. I know it may feel as though you are. It is only because of the rough situation you were put through. The trademark Naruto grin shone through the darkness covering his face as he sat up in excitement. Gah! He immediately flew back against the bed and ran his hands down his body to gingerly hold his screaming genitals. Only, he came across no genitals. The world froze and felt so icy. The ceiling appeared to be spinning slowly down to crush him. This couldn't be right, his junk must be hiding somehow. His fingers roamed from his belly, down and over barren and unfamiliar territory until he reached his buttocks. Doc, where are they? He rubbed the sensitive area curiously until realizing this was the home to the death simulation he went through prior and stopped altogether. Naruto's bright blues met with the tentative deep blues. Where are my man parts? He could feel tears jerking at the rim of his eyes from fright. Dr. Sato cleared his throat. You see, Naruto, you've kind of been detached, so to speak, from your man parts, as you put it. Detached. Yes. From what made me a man. Correct. Naruto's voice was reaching screeching octaves. I'm a girl. The doctor said nothing, nor did he seem capable of giving a nod or head shake as he appeared to be in mystified concentration. Sorry, Naruto. I'm having a hard time trying to explain this. Naruto half snorted, half sobbed. You're having a hard time, well by all means, go relax and get back to me when you feel better. The doctor fumbled with his hair. Naruto, you're not exactly either of the two. You no longer have your male organs, nor can you grow female organs. I would say you are closer to a girl now if anything You. Girl. Now. Those three words repeated themselves like a caveman cruelly poking fun at Naruto as he felt his last fiber for life snap. Do you want to stay this way? What? Do you want to stay as you are now? The ray of hope somehow didn't enter Naruto's state of mind. The idea of finding Naruto's massacred goodies in marshland and reattaching them was like finding a needle in a haystack. But the needle was never in the haystack to begin with, so you're just a fool rummaging for days in a haystack while all the village people snicker as they walk by. Are you telling me I can become a guy again? Dr. Sato shook his head. No, unfortunately you will never be considered a true part of the male population again. As for the feminine side of it though, we can alter your body to take the form of a woman as you grow. I would rather die. Why are you even asking this question? You will not be able to reproduce like a woman, but we can make it easier down there. You know how you kids are. If you meet a boy, and you decide it feels right with him, you can sneak off to that red light district to enjoy. Whoa. Please stop talking. Naruto's hands were covering his eyes in frustration and embarrassment at what the doc was suggesting. Who in their right mind would want to follow your advice? Naruto sat up a tad and gave Dr. Sato a calculating look. Is he qualified for this job? He wondered in all seriousness. You do hear yourself when you speak, right? Do you know what you sound like? I'm afraid I'm not following. Do I sound funny to you? Geez, the exhausted blonde fell back on his pillow. And people thought I was the village idiot. There you go. Jokes make everyone feel better, Naruto. And there you go again. Naruto sat up once more. What makes you think I would want to become more like a woman than a man? Were you not standing there 5 minutes ago? He could tell this man wanted to be all fun and games to help Naruto's situation, but he was only making matters worse. I just want to be a normal guy again. Sorry Mr. Uzumaki, and it was genuine. Yeah, me too. Naruto relaxed on his back as the doctor handed over a clipboard. I've made a note that you are your very own guardian for these situations, and I know it's tedious, but these are a few things you need to sign for the hospital. Medications, surgeries, all the good, fun stuff. Naruto half looked through the items on the papers before signing at the bottom of each page. Medication, previous surgery, medication. So, he's. Damn voices. They were penetrating Naruto's foggy consciousness, making him wake up once again. Did no one like to talk outside of his room? I can't believe he agreed to that. It is quite odd. She was very passionate about this topic, but I watched her very carefully read over these documents. Look, here they are. She signed right there at the bottom. It sounded to Naruto as if two people were holding him submerged underwater as they spoke. Everything was garbled and hard to make out, but he could tell one voice was his doctor. The man was like a nightmare Naruto could never forget. Bad news was equivalent to the hottest new joke he just had to tell Naruto. He grew to loathe the man, the other voice however. Yes, I see the paper, but it does not make sense even with what you said. Are you sure he signed these or was someone trying to play a joke on him and went a little too far? Or maybe it wasn't a joke at all. Oh, dear boy. You appear to have a disorder with reading into things a little too deep. Why don't you ask the poor girl when she wakes up? Please, quit calling him a girl. He doesn't need any more psychological damage done. Oh look, now you can ask her. Or disregard my statement, jackass. Naruto blinked his eyes open. They felt so heavy he almost decided against opening them fully, but was too curious as to who the second person was. As soon as the white blobs of sleep moved from his line of vision he could make out the doctor and Sasuke. The male had a makeover since Naruto saw him last. Sasuke looked to be taking a turn from his younger emo sense of style. It appeared that he now approved of the lighter side of clothing instead of shrouding himself in darkness, though he must have something against showing off his neck still. His apparel consisted of a white, long-sleeved shirt with a skinny collar hugging his neck and the Uchiha fan emblem stitched over the left, and charcoal slacks stretching down to typical black, closed-toed ninja shoes. Sasuke's hair looked to be trimmed down a bit, giving it less of a duck butt look and just slightly spiky. His bangs still hung to either side of his face but had been thinned out and not so dominant. The new look suited his good looks, Naruto hated to admit even mentally. Oi, Sasuke, Naruto knew he looked worse for wear because of his exhaustion. He could feel the filth of lying in bed without a shower for a good few days too. NNH, how are you feeling? Pretty close to how I look, I'm sure. Naruto could feel his voice scratching his throat, another plus. He sat up and propped up his pillow. Looking around, Naruto found no Dr. Sato. The coward probably ran off before Naruto had another screaming fest. The day before, the young blonde felt it necessary to chew out the doctor for adjusting his prescriptions to estrogen tablets. Why he felt the need to make Naruto more womanly than he already was an infuriating mystery to him. The doc wasn't about to win this battle though. It was Naruto's body. Hey, how long have I been in here anyways? I lose track of time in this place. Going on for 3 weeks. What? Naruto knew it was a long time, but damn. Not 3 weeks worth of a long time. Yes, it's been a while. The usual air of indifference Sasuke had towards everything had changed. Naruto had only seen Sasuke so passionate about revenge before. It made him slightly uncomfortable when the attention was aimed towards another human being, that being Naruto himself. So, you're the only one who has come to visit after 3 weeks. He felt his heart sink at recalling no one else at his bedside. No, everyone has come to visit. Sasuke cast his gaze to the ceiling. You've just been out of it on the medications. Knowing this warmed the hurt boy a little. At least his friends still cared. Naruto. Sasuke's attention never left the ceiling. Why did you give the doctor permission to do that? Give the doctor permission to do what? He didn't give the doctor permission to do anything. Well, he said you signed papers for a more natural, woman's body. What? Naruto couldn't think straight. Maybe the medicine was getting to him. That could not have been what Sasuke said because he knew damn well that he signed no papers that said such things. His body temperature seemed to be dropping. He was so cold. Before he could get another word out of his mouth, a pain shook him all over. Naruto immediately let his friend go and made a face plant against the Uchiha emblem. Ah, that hurts. God, I took out the IVs. Naruto instantly regretted his outburst. The pain was like that of the death simulation he had days ago. Please make it stop. Naruto started panting and tearing up a little as the familiar agonizing sensation shot up his body from between his legs. Warmth wrapped around his body. It felt nice, but it didn't do a damn thing for the excruciating pain. It took Naruto a few minutes to register it was Sasuke's arms holding him in a gentle hug. After a few more slightly awkward minutes of lying right on top of Sasuke, the blonde began feeling a little more calm and able to breathe. To hell with this girl crap. Just the transition was horrible. How the hell was Naruto going to live like this? Dear God, I don't even want to think about this anymore. Why didn't I just die? Sasuke, why is this happening to me? The boy whimpered pathetically. Naruto. Sasuke's tone became less sympathetic suddenly. What papers did you sign exactly? He helped Naruto sit up enough so they could see eye to eye. Just some crap about medications and a surgery he performed, down there. Did you read everything thoroughly? Word for word. Naruto thought back and paled. Did I read them? Everything is so hazy. Thinking back, I don't know. He looked up into a horrifying face. You are telling me you did not read the papers? Sasuke's voice was chillingly calm paired up with the, I should kill you myself, look. Naruto felt his wrists being wrung to death in the Uchiha's hold. Naruto could understand why Sasuke was mad, but really. This was Naruto, not Sasuke, so he shouldn't be pissy that Naruto made a mistake. Hell, Naruto was mad enough at himself. He didn't need anyone else to give him shit. There was a sudden clicking sound as the door to Naruto's room was forced open. The doctor's voice was like a knife that stabbed into the two on the couch. Naruto. Sasuke. The two of them finally took notice of their position on the couch now that someone else was in the room. Sasuke, sitting on the couch, to be more correct about it, he was laying on the couch, with Naruto sitting with his legs spread on top of the Uchiha's stomach. Why was it that people seemed to walk in on the most suggestive things? It was a good thing the doctor dressed Naruto in a long gown that went completely around his body, unlike those garments that revealed the backside of a person, otherwise the doctor would be seeing more of Naruto than he would have liked. The only problem was that Naruto had no pants or underwear on. He felt vulnerable and uncomfortable. Something down there was hot and wet to his mortification. Oh, Naruto, there was an abrupt pause. Naruto and Sasuke figured that the doctor had come to realize what the scene portrayed. Neither of them were brave enough to look up at the man. Well, Naruto, I never imagined you as the type of person that would attempt this sort of thing so quickly. Especially after surgery, you know, that's really not the smartest thing. You have not completely healed, dear girl, but I do enjoy your enthusiasm. How much more embarrassing could you get? And in front of Sasuke. Naruto could feel the humiliated tears popping up and buried his face into Sasuke's chest. That's when he realized how much of a girl he was being and quickly sniffed up his emotions. You jackass. Naruto stood to face the doctor and settle everything once and for all. He met with Sasuke's stomach instead. Oh dear. The doctor's voice was a million miles away. Blood. There was a large vortex of dark blood staining Sasuke's pure shirt. Naruto stared in silent horror as it spun in circles before his eyes. Before he knew it, Sasuke was helping him on the bed. Naruto, you have blood on your shirt. Sasuke looked flushed and close to passing out himself. Naruto glanced down and saw a similar marking right towards the end of his gown where it had bent up from sitting on Sasuke. He looked back up to Sasuke and didn't have the nerve to tell him the same for his shirt. Instead he sort of screeched, "Am I having a period?" No, no, no. The doctor finally found a point to come into the silent battle of both males mentally freaking out. Ms. Uzumaki cannot reproduce, so she is not having a menstrual cycle. This is the result of incomplete healing mixed with running around, which you are not supposed to do. Who knew the doctor was capable of sounding like he knew what he was talking about? Naruto was just relieved by the news. Don't worry though, she can still be classified as a girl. The estrogen tablets she signed for are helping nicely with the change. Naruto hated the doctor, but he was too exhausted to start yelling at him. And from what Sasuke had brought up, Naruto had indeed signed papers for everything the doctor was talking about. He sighed and laid back against his bed. What a fun-filled situation this was, and sadly becoming his everyday life. Nay, Sasuke-kun. Sasuke froze. Sure, the Uchiha were used to this title from all of the girls and a few others, but Naruto. Naruto never bothered with titles when it came to Sasuke. It was always just plain old Sasuke, even Tem, when things were good. This didn't give the Uchiha good vibes as he turned towards the blonde. The two of them were walking down a street in Konoha. Sasuke couldn't really remember why they were doing so. Now looking around, Sasuke noticed that the street had no one on it, more reason to feel chilled. Why yes, Naruto. His voice shook when he spoke, making Sasuke upset with himself. Uchiha Sasuke never falters. He would mentally blame it on the ominous atmosphere, but knew something was eating at him somehow, but what? An arm quickly intertwined with Sasuke's. There was a sudden flutter in his stomach and it only worsened when a warm body pressed up against his side. Ah, that was eating at him, that feeling he would get whenever a girl was hopelessly flirting with him. Only this was Naruto. You're my best friend, idiot. Why are you trying to humiliate me like this? Sasuke thought angrily, but did nothing to remove Naruto's arm. His heart picked up the beat in a panic and felt his pride crack to willingly let another man link arms. Well, circumstances changed the man part, but Sasuke couldn't think of Naruto as a girl. Boy or girl, Naruto was the only person who could get any real emotions from Sasuke. Why was that? Sasuke truly cared for Naruto unlike most everyone else. Having the blonde suddenly become flirty and clingy caused conflicting emotions. The touch was like fire. He wanted to snatch his arm away as if Sakura or Ino were holding him. Since Sasuke cared about Naruto, he didn't want to hurt Naruto's feelings, especially in this confusing time. So he let Naruto's arm stay even though it sent shivers across his flesh. Then the blonde laced their fingers together. Shockingly, Sasuke exhaled deeply as his heart seemed to burst with every beat. Was it possible that Sasuke actually liked the touch when it was Naruto? He felt his face grow hot to what he was thinking, but didn't allow his expression to change. Things would only worsen if he did. Focusing on the way Naruto's hand felt, Sasuke found it was very soft and warm, her fingers grasping tenderly. I love you, Sasuke-kun. Something inside of Sasuke snapped at the words. He was only holding onto his emotions by a thread, and those few words were like scissors to that said thread. An unknown desire for Naruto filled him to the brim until it finally spilled. He grabbed Naruto's shoulders, which had also become soft even more so than usual. Wait, since when did he think of Naruto being soft? and he pulled gently so Naruto would fall into a deep kiss with him. This probably shocked Sasuke more than it did Naruto. Never before had he imagined this between them, but for some reason it felt right. But, beep beep. Why? Beep beep. What was going on? The Uchiha's body lurched as his lusty mind registered a loud annoying sound coming from his alarm clock. Pulling his head up from his pillow he discovered a first. Saliva drenching the area he had rested on as if making out with it. No wonder the kiss felt real. Exclamation mark. Wait a second. Kiss. Kiss. What did he dream about? When did he start dreaming? Sasuke was never the kind of person to have dreams much, especially ones of an intimate variety, so what possessed him to start? Sasuke slammed his hand on the alarm clock to shut it up. It really annoyed him since it had taken away the hazy images that were fleeing from him. He wanted to know who it was that he was kissing, damn it. He couldn't remember and it pissed him off. Why did he set the alarm clock anyway? I've got to escort Naruto to the Hokage's office. He thought back to the previous day's events that led to this mission. I'm sure you already know that tomorrow Naruto will be able to leave the hospital's custody, correct? Sasuke nodded his head in answer to Tsunade. Why wouldn't he know? He had been visiting Naruto daily ever since his friend was admitted, a total of 5 weeks, to be sure he was okay and to give some company. Naruto had told Sasuke that she was happy with having Sasuke there by his, her side, that it wasn't near as boring. Wasn't near as boring, was what Naruto had said. Did that mean that Naruto thought it to be boring even with Sasuke, but not as boring as it was when alone? Who knew? Sasuke didn't have time to dwell on it because Tsunade continued with the conversation, not realizing the Uchiha's turmoil. I know this wouldn't be considered a real mission to you, but I need someone to bring Naruto to me. Can he not walk here on his own? Tsunade understood what Sasuke meant and went on to explain sharply. No, it wouldn't be a problem for her, but I feel that she should have an escort for the purpose of something happening, a precaution so to speak. Naruto may or may not be fit enough to move around, but we'll never know this until she moves. You would just make sure she gets here without collapsing or hurting herself. The Uchiha was more understanding with this and felt a twinge inside when Tsunade had corrected his terms in which he had called Naruto a he, something the two of them had been bickering about for nearly a whole month. Tsunade believed it to be too harsh to remind Naruto of what gender he used to be and have him get used to a girl title. This was hard for Sasuke though, it was too hard to think of Naruto as a girl and even harder to call him one. Sasuke broke from his thoughts and looked up at the Konoha hospital. He entered, signed in to pick up his friend and waited as patiently as he could. The nurses explained Naruto was being held a little longer to have a touch-up to her wardrobe. It aggravated Sasuke to no end, but kept his mouth shut and showed his disapproval by giving a death glare to any nurse who walked by. Why the hell does she needs a touch-up, anyways? He felt a headache coming on. No, I am not going out like this. But Naru-chan, you look so cute. And your outfit looks better this way. Naruto felt a shiver run up her spine from the comment. My name is Naruto, not Naru-chan. Naruto quickly pulled at the bottom of her shirt. The 3 nurses decided to give her a complete makeover clothes-wise. The shirt was nothing like the jacket she used to wear, it refused to stretch down over her black shorts, revealing her belly button that should never see the light of day. It also had little to no sleeves, showing off thinner arms than Naruto remembered having. And cursed girls. She even wore a maddening bra for crying out loud. Naruto didn't think something so tiny deserved something so itchy and irritating. The shorts weren't so bad though. They were loose and stopped above the knees, letting her legs feel freedom for once while her feet still adorned the blue ninja sandals she had always worn. What bothered her possibly even more than the shirt and bra was her hair, While in the hospital for a little over a month, Naruto was never able to get a trim or haircut of any kind, allowing for the blonde locks to grow. The nurses took it upon themselves to fashion some bobby pins so the bangs were out of her eyes and resting on top of her head while the rest no longer seemed to be capable of defying gravity. "She's so cute," all three nurses sang out while wrapping their arms around Naruto. "What hellhole have I crawled into? This is nuts. I need my clothes. I need my hair. I need my freaking identity back." Feeling a little overwhelmed, the blonde forced herself from their arms, escaped from the room and slammed the door. Hopefully everyone in the outside world wouldn't be a freak show like the staff here in the hospital. It would be no walk in the park if they did. Naruto cursed her non-existent luck and continued down the hallway towards the front desk and check-in-out area. Truth was, Naruto did kind of want to see what she looked like. If the nurses were making such a big deal of how cute she was, maybe she should stop by a bathroom just for a quick, little sneak peek. Damn, though Naruto is rather upset, my mind's already morphing to think like a girl's. I want to look at myself just for the sake of looking. Naruto decided against stopping at a bathroom right then and there. She didn't have time anyways. The Hokage needed to see her. At first Naruto had been excited in hopes of what would entail, but was quickly dejected when coming to terms that it wouldn't be for a mission. Once arriving at the front desk, she caught Sasuke leaning with his back to a wall and staring off angrily. Geez, he thinks he's in a bad mood. Wait until he sees what these people have done to me. Oi, Sasuke. It's that simple. Break into Naruto's room. Snap a nurse's neck if she dares to try me. Drag that numbskull to Tsunade kicking and screaming if I have to. 30 minutes was spent working on the raven-haired male's sanity. He spoke to himself in short angry dialogues of what he would do if Naruto didn't appear soon. The scenarios were getting worse and worse as his body wound up so tightly he felt he could barely breathe. Oi, Sasuke. Then all the anger and inability to breathe crumbled to tiny pieces at the familiar voice. It shook Sasuke immediately because he realized it was still the same voice his dear friend always had, making it that much harder to stare reality in the face, even if Naruto had a sissy girl voice before. Sasuke waved this thought from his mind with a mental smile. Idiot, quit yelling. You do know that you're in a hose. There was a long moment of absorbing Naruto. Sasuke completely lost all thought in what he had been saying. From the moment he turned his head, he realized he was doomed to live a tortured life from now on. Standing before him was Uzumaki Naruto. He almost slapped his forehead from feeling so stupid. Of course it was Uzumaki Naruto, but why is she so? Nay, something wrong, Sasuke. Adorable. Her hair, it can lay down flat. This was a feat that marveled even him. Naruto could have been born from her mother's womb using those spikes as an escape. How did anyone tackle those locks into obedience? Her face seemed to keep most of the shape it had been previously, only thinner, and he unintentionally met eyes and stopped critiquing. Those same, nothing out of the ordinary here, the sky will never be the limit, blue eyes, there was not a thing different about them. Something buckled within him. Sasuke felt it all as soon as it happened. It was guilt, it was affection, it was hate, it was cold, it was warm, it was vile. It turned his stomach into a pit where he fell endlessly. It squeezed his heart until he thought it may have erupted and the knot forming in his throat was the blood spewing upwards and out. Adorable. That was not blood spewing upwards and out. Whatever it was had somehow made Sasuke its puppet and slipped a word not part of his vocabulary right out of his mouth. Are you okay, Sasuke? He found Naruto's gaze turned scrutinizing immediately. You look pretty hot. Sasuke froze. What? His stomach and heart did a little reenactment of their previous show, but Sasuke refused to vomit words this time. Yeah, you're a little on the red side. Naruto moved closer. Are you running a fever? If you are, I mean, I don't need you to take me to the Hokage's office, I thought that was a pretty stupid idea anyways. Like I'm incapable of walking by myself. Sasuke covered his eyes in shame. I cannot believe I thought Naruto was hitting on me. He tried to convince himself it was a defense mechanism towards any girl speaking with him, but he could not quite equate Naruto to a girl even with the titles. Even so, why did he look red in the face? There is no chance. Naruto is a blind idiot. No, I just finished training before coming to pick you up. I guess I'm still a little heated. Why was this sounding so bad even to himself? Damn you, Naruto. Damn you to hell for whatever genjutsu you have sprung on me. Naruto only gave Sasuke a mocking look before heading to the exit, disgruntled and grumbling, mainly to herself. Fine, suit yourself. I don't see why everybody acts like I've got some terminal disease. I can walk. Sasuke's probably got pneumonia over here and they're forcing him to walk me like a dog. For the last time, I am fine. Sasuke separated each syllable neatly, trying to keep his cool with what seemed to be a surprisingly normal Naruto. I can still walk by myself, Tem. Sasuke felt his temples throb. Maybe if you didn't go off by yourself on that suspicious mission you wouldn't need to be escorted around like a dog and still be a guy. He stopped as if his thoughts had somehow been blurted. Maybe Sasuke should have tried a little bit harder to join Naruto on that mission instead of acting bitter. Letting Naruto go alone was supposed to be a taste of his own medicine, instead it made him a hero. Naruto was not the only one to blame, and Naruto had every right to be pissed off about it. What is this? Are you going to let me walk myself or are you coming? I'm tired of being in this hospital. Come on. Quit whining, I'm coming. From now on, I will protect you. Naruto trudged along Sasuke's side, arms crossed, shoulders hunched, all of the body language needed to show her distaste for being accompanied. Everyone must see her as being a pretty pathetic girl who could not manage to take a simple walk without tripping on her face, breaking a nail, getting kidnapped, or whatever secret, horrible tragedy happened to a girl while they were alone. As if any of those things would happen. The most plausible would be falling on her face, but she wasn't that uncoordinated. As for breaking nails, she had next to none, and kidnapped. Bless the poor soul who tried. Uzumaki Naruto was the equivalent to a firecracker as far as she was concerned. Unfortunately she was held hostage by Sasuke. It wasn't very likely he would let her off the hook, being stubborn as he was. He may even truly think Naruto was some dumb broad now, as if she were merely a light switch. On, Uzumaki Naruto, off, damsel in distress. Wonder if he gets off on such sick ideas. She quickly shook her head in embarrassment. I don't want to know what flips Sasuke's switch, nor do I want to pretend it has anything to do with me as a girl. Oh shit, I just thought of myself as a girl, sigh, thus it begins. Hey, boss. You're out of the hospital. Three familiar voices rang out as Naruto quickly identified them. Konohamaru, Moegi, Udon. The trio looked as if they were about to tackle Naruto to the ground in their excitement. The only thing standing between them was a determined Uchiha. Konohamaru pounced on thin air and lost his footing while Moegi and Udon tripped and collapsed on top of him. OWWW, boss, why did you move so fast? Naruto pulled from Sasuke's grasp and gave him a rough shove for good measure. Idiot. Why are you hugging me? You're an idiot. I wasn't hugging you. If I didn't grab you, look where you would be. He pointed to the pile of squirming and squabbling children. Ah, Naruto blushed in embarrassment. Why would I accuse him of hugging me? I really am an idiot. Can I crawl under a rock and die now? I just got out of the hospital and this happened. Her shoulder was tugged and turned so she was facing Sasuke once more. His look was exasperated, his words, listen, that's what I'm here for. I won't let you get hurt. Just Try and be careful. His words were offensive. Naruto instantly wanted to punch him in the face. This wasn't anti-hero Sasuke, but it sure as hell looked and acted like him most of the time. She wanted to beat the ever-loving crap out of him, but of course she didn't punch, scream, kick, or do any of those things. Dr. Sato. Instead Naruto flashed back to a most unwanted conversation that she mistakenly brought upon herself by asking the worst person in the world. Yes, Naruto. Naruto was a bit hesitant with finally gaining the courage to ask her doctor this question that had been bugging her for so long. It wasn't so much the dislike for Dr. Sato that was holding her back as much as the details of the subject. So, whenever I go to the bathroom, she could feel the burn in her cheeks, but she couldn't sit there and not know what was going on anymore. I've noticed that my underwear is slightly wet. And sometimes it gets really hot down there. At really weird times, Naruto shivered at the thought of certain people coming to visit, namely Sakura and most of her male friends. She knew something wasn't right about that last part. The doctor was in full attention as if every word was a lifeline and nodded a, "Go on, you were saying. You idiot. Quit acting like you're taking notes on a porno and tell me if I'm broken or not. I have seriously been thinking for days that I had an infection or disease that's been eating my body. I take offense. I never take notes on pornos, nor was your description as good as one. Who is this guy and was he really a doctor? No, you're not broken. You don't have an infection or disease either. I would have caught that immediately when you entered the hospital. That's a relief, but why is it happening? I'd like to stop it, it kind of freaks me out." Suddenly the doctor was closing in on the side of Naruto's bed in a real creepy, girlish way. "Oh, Naru-chan, who's the lucky guy? What just happened to their conversation? Where did it go? Why was the doctor curling his body like a love-struck pretzel? You're crushing on a special someone, aren't you? Oh my." Dr. Sato covered his mouth in what appeared to be shock. "Are you in love with me?" Naruto had never written up paperwork for stabbing a doctor with a nearby scalpel before. It took a surprisingly long time to read and sign off on everything, but if given the chance, she would do the paperwork all over again. Dumbass had it coming. The results were pleasing though. Dr. Sato was afraid to treat Naruto after that incident and had nurses check in and update her on how she was doing. During that time Naruto mustered the courage to ask one of the female nurses about her predicament and was given a response that resulted with no scalpels being thrown, although they did not make her feel better. "Oh, Naruto, it's something every girl experiences once she has matured. It's natural and occurs every day. Whenever your panties get wet it means you are excited. It does not always relate back to a sexual excitement, but in most cases it does." "Oh, that's great. Thanks for explaining that. I've turned into a whore." Anything the nurses tried to say to make Naruto feel better after that failed. The truth was out and apparently her body wanted to hook up with anything that walked. Well, at this very moment Naruto's body really wanted a piece of Sasuke. Dear God, why? Boss. Naruto had forgotten about the audience staring up at her. Sorry. Sasuke's been a bit of a killjoy lately, you can jump on me all you want. She felt a very dark aura by her side and only shoved Sasuke's arm before he could say or do anything again. Konohamaru looked at Moegi and Udon, both shaking their heads before he continued. "I'm kind of confused, are you really a girl now?" Naruto lost a sliver of humanity and smacked the boy over the head. Repeatedly. "Ow, ow, 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 ow. What did I do? I am not a girl. That's what you did. You questioned it. But everyone's been talking about it. They say you pretty much are one now." "What?" Naruto could feel her shaking, but she was not sure what feeling caused it, backstabbing agony or throat-ripping rage. Why would everyone be saying that about me? Her throat felt sour and lumpy. Well, we heard you had an accident on your last mission and, I guess when something like that happens, it spreads like wildfire. What? No, Sasuke stepped in. It does spread very quickly, so, Naruto, you need to be ready for more run-ins like this and not pummel anyone who slips up and calls you a girl. Konohamaru nodded eagerly. It's going to happen and you know you would be the same way if it happened to someone else. But, I'm not a girl. Sasuke hesitantly brushed Naruto's back and jerked his hand to his side. Let's go, the Hokage is waiting. The small act of comfort warmed Naruto and mixed her already confused emotions into a whirlwind of disarray. Damn it, is it not enough having everyone think I've completely switched sides on my gender? Please, body, quit wanting to want this guy, please. I don't think I can take much more. Boss. Naruto turned reluctantly to the child. What, Konohamaru? Moegi and Udon pulled at Konohamaru's scarf and whispered in his ears hurriedly before the leader swatted them away. Great, is this going to be a breaking point? I wanted to ask you something. Since you're not really a guy anymore, Naruto felt a stab at her non-existent manhood for the umpteenth time that day. We thought the title, boss, was a little too masculine and wanted to give you a new nickname. You know, try and make yourself feel better about being a girl. Cold blood was pumping through Naruto's veins. New nickname? Were they serious? You can't just take something like that away from her. Boss, was what they had called her for years. It was practically a second name, but maybe the three of them decided on something genius that could possibly take the edge off of what today was turning into hell. All right. I expect nothing but the best from you three, something tingled within. What was this? Could this be exciting? Naruto hadn't experienced this feeling since, well, the mission that completely screwed up her life. Oh, irony. Konohamaru beamed as the other two hesitantly smiled before all shouting, Heim. As if it was the ending to some bad joke they believed magnificent, they all giggled gleefully. A faint snigger caught Naruto's attention immediately. Mr. Always Stoic had his hand covering his mouth as if he just got over a coughing fit and was, grinning, very widely. He should smile more. Hey, wait a second. The bastard's laughing at me. Naruto felt her embarrassment surface to her face, but did not dare to call out her friend. Instead she rounded her humiliated rage on the trio of children. What the hell makes you guys think I want, Heim, to be my new nickname? Do I look like some woman in dire need to be rescued and married off? I just said I'm not a girl, you damn brats. Moegi finally gained the confidence to speak up. But, you're such an adorable person, Heim-chan. I thought you were, a pretty cute guy too. Her cheeks turned red more so than usual. I thought you could have been a prince. Udon pressed his glasses up the bridge of his nose and blushed. And you do look like a beautiful princess I once pictured before, you look exactly how I would see Cinderella. Konohamaru was only being egged on by the comments his once silent teammates were now making. Yeah, boss, I mean Heim-chan. You're such a motivation and I mean, you do still want to be Hokage. Wouldn't that be in some way related to a princess title-wise? The boy was grinning ear to ear. And yeah, you look exactly like a princess. You could be the first with the title, Ninja Princess. There were hearts practically forming within the boy's eyes. You only need a costume. Joy, I have little kids forming twisted crushes on me. Annoying little kids, I have to get out of here. You brats are one word short of being annihilated right here, right now. If I dare hear anyone even stutter something that sounds remotely close to princess, I will break their teeth out and glue them into such a pretty crown fitting for such a pretty princess. Naruto marched off without a glance to any of the children, but was pleased to not have them calling after her once more. She was beginning to feel a small inner peace when noticing nothing had really changed. She was indeed still the same firecracker Uzumaki Naruto with a mouth that could put your mom in an early grave. So, why can't everyone else see that? Underscore. Uchiha Sasuke followed behind Naruto without a single word spoken. He knew something was coming in. 5, 4, 3, 2. Sasuke. Bingo. HN. You were laughing at me back there. Oh no, here it goes. Time to prepare for a headache. Damn. Wait, what if she starts crying? No, no. Naruto doesn't cry that easily, but she has had her buttons pushed a lot today, and over that topic. Damn it, and I laughed. What am I doing? I'm just the bad guy always. I'm sorry. Sasuke had to choke down his gag reflex to the foreign word. I know you despise this situation. It just becomes so easy to think of you as, well, you Naruto. Naruto watched Sasuke for a long moment when, what the hell are you talking about? Suddenly Sasuke realized they were on very different pages and possibly not even within the same book. Sasuke felt small pin pricks within his cheeks. The hell? Is Naruto purposely trying to make me look like a fool? What the hell are you talking about then? Yes, I laughed and I was apologizing for laughing. God, it felt like these words were taking years to form and verbally communicate. And you call me an idiot? No, Naruto did not just refer to Sasuke as an idiot. He was about to bring all his guns to the table when Naruto continued. I was going to say that I don't think I've ever heard you laugh, minus your HN. Naruto mimicked Sasuke's small grumble that she thought was of a humored sound. Idiot. Guess you're not that funny. He bit out in retaliation. Am I not that funny? You're the one who's got the personality of a slug. What does that say about you since you stick with me? Sasuke was enjoying this more than he should have, but this was the first time the two of them were in such a silly squabble since Sasuke had come back home. What? Well, one of us has to have fun or we'd bore each other to death. They had now entered the Hokage's building and were standing before Tsunade's door. How sad, and when they were just starting the fun. It was time for serious talk. Nay, Naruto. About earlier, I just wanted you to know that I am looking out for you, as best as I can. This out of the blue comment seemed to jerk Naruto's chain, and hard. What? Naruto looked to be in shock and her whiskers were practically on fire. Sasuke averted his attention when noting he enjoyed the look a little too much. Well, we are still best friends, right? Oh, of course we are. Sasuke could hear it in Naruto's voice. A light bulb had gone off somewhere in that empty head and made Naruto realize they had hopped topics without stating it. Sasuke brushed the hair on the back of his neck, knowing for sure his emotions were evident on his face. Neither of them liked the sore subject of Sasuke's betrayal a few years ago and neither one of them had fully faced it together, but… well, we should probably head in now. Tsunade will be very ill with how late we are. Sasuke glanced at the clock before swinging the door open and smirked. Right after you, Haim-chan. Why you? You bastard. Just you wait. Sasuke's heart and stomach reacted funny once more. This was a little unnerving. Maybe he needed to see a doctor now. He pushed Naruto by the shoulder and into the Hokage's chambers as the flailing female spat curses and threw unfriendly hand gestures in his face. This was Uzumaki Naruto. And I'm still her best friend. Thank you, Naruto. I will be poking my head in and out every here and there, so watch for me. Dr. Sato gave a goofy grin before leaving Naruto all by his lonesome. He stared up at the ceiling in defeat as he waited for the sleep to take over. There was nothing to look forward to. His life was forever screwed up thanks to one out-of-hand mission. And the worst thing about it was Naruto had a choice in the matter. When Tsunade had put Sasuke on the mission with him, he declined. This whole ordeal may have never happened if Naruto wasn't so hard-headed. Why? He covered his eyes as the flood came. Uzumaki Naruto, drawled Tsunade in an overly serious voice that shook the blonde. making her think that she had somehow gotten into trouble even though she hadn't done a thing since she had been in the hospital all this time. Why yes. The older female paused a moment before speaking in a softer tone. If you ever need someone, especially someone of the feminine gender, you are welcome to come and see me anytime you'd like. A feeling of comfort swept away the nervous feelings and rushed through Naruto's veins at the kind offer. Thanks. Naruto thought about the time Sakura had come to visit her while in the hospital. The pink-haired female had suggested something along the same lines and had also offered to help Naruto later with shopping. That thought scared Naruto, but if it meant time she could spend with Sakura, then Naruto would happily do whatever. With you being out of the hospital now, Tsunade went on with the reasoning of why Naruto had been called here in the first place. I'm going to have to say that you will need to spend a couple nights with someone. Spend a couple nights with someone. Why do I have to do that? The sound of spending even one night with someone didn't sound like a good idea to Naruto. Just the thought of it alone brought ill omens to mind. And why the hell did she have to spend the night at someone's house? Was she not trustworthy? I want to make sure that you're healthy enough to be out of the hospital and this will ease my worries. Just go with it, Naruto. Think of it like you would a mission. Yeah, okay, but who am I going to be staying with? This was the main concern that Naruto had with this whole idea of spending the night with someone else. Would it be a girl? Naruto wasn't about to act like a girl anytime soon, so a girl wouldn't necessarily be a good thing. If it was a guy, then that would cause problems as well. Naruto may still have the mind and personality that she always had, but unfortunately she couldn't say the same for her body, so spending the night with one of her many guy friends would be a little awkward. Tsunade shrugged. I'm leaving the choice up to you. So, I could pick anyone in that case, anyone. Azure Eyes wondered about in thought as to who would be a good roommate until her eyes met with the male that was still standing beside her. A grin stretched across the blonde's face and her eyes became mischievous as a plan unraveled before her. Payback's a bitch, Sasuke. In these next few days I'm going to be that bitch. You should have never called me, Haim-chan. Naruto quickly raised an arm to point at Sasuke and eagerly shouted, I want it to be Sasuke. The raven-haired male's impassive expression changed to surprise at the proposal Naruto had made. Why me? She said it could be anyone that I wanted and that's you. Sasuke was quick to look away from Naruto, not bothering with any further questioning of her motives. The Hokage smiled. Well, now that we have that settled. Naruto, you will be staying with Sasuke for 2 nights. Sasuke, do anything in your power to make her comfortable and make sure that she won't get hurt, right? Both Naruto and Sasuke gave a nod. Naruto's was an eager bouncing one as the things she could do to the Uchiha just poured in her mind one after another, and Sasuke's was a small, defeated one, somehow knowing that all of this would end horribly. She said it could be anyone that I wanted and that's you. Did Naruto have to put it that way to Sasuke? It didn't exactly ease his nerves any, in fact, it made him feel even more on edge than before. And why did she look so excited about it? What was she planning to do? This was going to be an interesting 2 days to spend with the blonde. The two of them were heading for Sasuke's house since Naruto had said that she wanted to rest. She didn't look as if she needed it though, happily walking down the street to Sasuke's like she had so much energy. What was she trying to pull? As they ventured on, a group outside of the ramen bar suddenly caught Sasuke's eye as well as Naruto's when they walked by. The blonde looked as if she had frozen when seeing the bar, and she slowly turned towards Sasuke with large, begging eyes. Sasuke, can we have ramen? Her bright blue eyes twinkled with desire for her most cherished dish. How was Sasuke supposed to say no to that? The only problem he had was the large group loitering around the bar. Fine, I'll pay. Sasuke couldn't believe he had actually offered to pay. By the end of this he would be broke with how much Naruto eats. A happy squeal exited from Naruto's mouth as she jumped on Sasuke in a hug and excitedly jumped up and down, nearly causing the Uchiha to fall over. "I love you. You're the best," sang the blonde in her bliss over a free meal. Sasuke felt his body temperature escalate and quickly pulled Naruto's arms from around him, placing them by her sides and grabbed the blonde's shoulders, looking her in the eye. He actually had to bend down a little to meet with Naruto at eye level. Did she shrink? This was surprising since the two of them had been close to the same height before she was put in the hospital. "Don't touch me," and just to make her upset he decided to throw in Haim-chan, with something close to a smirk plastered on his face. He couldn't help it. Naruto would always be furious when Sasuke did such things, but he loved the blonde's reactions to said things. I'll never forgive you for that. Nay, why must the Tem be so mean? I was just thanking him and he had to get all mad at me. Then he called me that stupid name again." Naruto angrily ate her ramen outside of the ramen bar. It was too crowded to eat at the bar because they were having a discount on the ramen for some reason, so she was standing while holding her bowl. Thinking of the name he had called her, something else popped into her mind. Kei Kawaii. Did Naruto hear right? She could have sworn that that was what Sasuke said at the hospital. Oh, well. If he did then it didn't matter. He was still being the Tem he was, so he was probably just trying to make fun of her. Looking around as she continued to eat her ramen, Naruto tried to spot Sasuke. The Uchiha had gone off somewhere after paying for her ramen, leaving her alone with the crowd. Why was it that he had to be gone? Naruto didn't want to feel lonely. She already had to deal with that feeling enough in her life and didn't want to remember it. "Hey, Naruto, you're out of the hospital." Glancing about to see who it was that had spoken to Naruto, she found that it was Kiba. With him was Shino and Akamaru. "Yeah, what are you guys doing here?" Kiba gave the question a thought before answering. "We came here to buy ramen for you since you were in the hospital." It was really Hinata's idea and she wanted to do it herself, but she was too busy, so we offered to get the ramen for her. "But since you're already eating ramen, there's no point," added Shino coolly. The blonde smiled. To think that the three of them had wanted to do something kind for her. "Thanks for the thought though." As Naruto continued eating her ramen, Kiba made small talk with her, conversing about missions that he had been on since they had last spoken with one another. That's when two more people caught Naruto's eyes. "Hey, Shikamaru, Choji." The two males being called to paused and looked around to find Naruto, Kiba, and Shino. They made their way over towards the group when they saw Naruto wave excitedly at them. "What are you doing out of the hospital already?" Choji was quick to ask. Why was it that everyone seemed so surprised that Naruto was out of the hospital anyways? "Because they told me that I could leave, duh." Naruto wolfed down the last bit of the soup from her ramen bowl and looked at the dish with misty eyes. She wanted another bowl, but Sasuke still hadn't come back from wherever he went and she didn't have her wallet on her. "What are you two doing here?" Choji heard about the discount and wanted to stuff his face and dragged you along, Shikamaru. Shikamaru crossed his arms. "Yeah, even with it being as troublesome as it is, I came along." Naruto was starting to enjoy herself now that there was someone to talk to. It felt much better than being alone. Forget about Sasuke. She was fine without him. Kiba quickly added in Naruto, pulling away from the topic they were on. "You know, Naruto," his eyes traveled up and down the blonde's body as he spoke, "your appearance just got better to my eyes. In fact, you're kind of cute." This made Naruto twitch. He was checking her out, wasn't he? The lust for murder rose within Naruto once again at what Kiba had said and was about to yell at him, but Kiba pressed his hands against her chest unexpectedly. What the hell are you doing? I won't be the only guy gone girl if he does." Shino, Being the very smart person he was, to Naruto as of right now, interrupted Kiba, I don't think Naruto appreciates being touched like that, Kiba. Maybe you ought to stop while you're ahead. 2. Thank you, Shino. Naruto cheered in her head. Come on, Kiba apparently didn't want to lose the topic, all of you have to admit that Naruto is cute like this. She glared up at the four of them to show that she was being serious. This was all too embarrassing and she wanted to kill Kiba for causing everyone to stare, but what really scared the blonde was the fact that no one was denying Naruto being cute. They possibly didn't give it much thought, or at least, that's what the blonde believed. Hey, it even looks like she's shrunk. Kiba had completely ignored Naruto's comment and was quick to standing up against Naruto, a little too close for her comfort, especially since she was now backed up against the wall of the ramen bar, to see if she had indeed gotten shorter. How did she get shorter? It was beyond Naruto, but it upset her since she was now the shortest person in their age group again. Well, compared to the guys she was. Hey, I think you really did shrink, Naruto. Get off, Kiba. Their bodies were pressed together and Naruto felt very uncomfortable. Was it going to be this way every time she got this close to a guy? Unlike the way it was with Sasuke, she didn't feel heat from between her legs or any strange, abnormal feelings, but instead felt heat from Kiba. Naruto was going to kill when she was able to get Kiba off of her. She did not like having another male on her the way her friend wasn't in this state. That was way too creepy. Suddenly Kiba was off of Naruto and in a rather hurried fashion that made Naruto wonder if she had telepathically told Kiba all the things she was going to do to him. That wasn't it at all. The back of Kiba's black leather jacket was in one of Sasuke's hands. The look on Uchiha's face did not look happy at all, even more so than usual, like he was about to kill Kiba. Akamaru growled at Sasuke, but quieted down when the raven-haired male set his piercing eyes on the dog. The other three males watched fixedly at Sasuke and Kiba, not knowing what to expect and not up to speaking since Sasuke might want to kill them as well if they uttered a word. Think that it's fun to mess with Naruto like that. The Uchiha quickly turned Kiba around so they could face each other head-on, the front of Kiba's leather jacket in Sasuke's hands. If I ever catch you at it again, I'll kill you. 3. Naruto was frantic while quickly reaching out to the Uchiha, Sasuke, and grabbed a hold of the back of his shirt. Onyx's eyes glanced over towards Naruto, lessening the cruelty in them when seeing that she looked a little upset. Naruto decided to go about another subject so Sasuke would let go of Kiba, quickly let go of his shirt and held out the ramen bowl towards the Uchiha. I'd like another bowl of ramen, please. She smiled sweetly towards him in hopes that he would forget about Kiba and get her some more ramen. She wanted another bowl anyway. The raven-haired male paused as he watched Naruto smile and hold up the bowl. He pushed Kiba over to the side where Akamaru and Shino stood and glared at Naruto for wanting to protect Kiba. He wasn't stupid, he knew that was what Naruto was doing, but took the ramen bowl regardless and left without a word. It was silent amongst the group as they watched Sasuke leave. When they were sure that he was gone, they turned to Naruto. What the hell was that? I didn't even do anything to you and he attacked me. Kiba went off into hysterics over the matter and made Naruto really wonder why Sasuke had gotten in an ill mood with Kiba. All he was really doing was comparing heights, even though it made Naruto uncomfortable. Shikamaru shrugged at this since Naruto obviously wasn't going to answer, who knows. He's always in a bad mood if you think about it. Choji was thoughtful and decided to ask Naruto, the two of you aren't an item, are you? Naruto quickly shouted, no. What makes everyone come to that conclusion? She was getting fed up with this suggestion, even though it had only been hinted at one other time. Sure, Sasuke was acting weird and Naruto was a girl now, but why did it make everyone question their relationship? Well, Sasuke seems to be protective when it comes to you. You do have to take in the fact that Kiba was sexually harassing you as well. It would only make a person suspect, but since the two of you are good friends, I wouldn't go so far as Choji to blow it out of proportion that you're dating. Naruto blinked a couple of times. This was surprising to hear Shino talk so much in one sitting, but I felt relieved that someone didn't think that she and Sasuke were a couple. Kiba suddenly smirked. Yeah, but just imagine Uchiha Sasuke getting the hot pants for Uzumaki Naruto. Not that I would blame him, he eyed Naruto again, since Naruto is cute like this. Kiba growled the blonde at being called cute yet again, but freaked out inwardly at the fact that Kiba had suggested Sasuke getting turned on by her. There was a sudden grab of Naruto's shoulder and she gave a little yelp as she spun around to see said Uchiha with a box of takeout ramen. Tea takeout. The brown-headed boy quickly took to standing right by Shino's side just in case Sasuke heard what he had said. Not that Shino would help him, but in case he needed a shield, Shino would be perfect. Sasuke's hand quickly grabbed onto Naruto's arm and pulled her away from the group. Yes, we're leaving, he growled at the blonde without giving her the smallest hint as to why they were leaving. Leaving, but I was having fun. Naruto gave this an afterthought. Even though Kiba was verbally hitting on me and making weird assumptions. Naruto was reluctant to leave, but she did as Sasuke wanted and shouted a farewell over her shoulder to the four boys as Sasuke dragged her off towards his house. Damn Tem, I hate his guts. Upon arriving at the Uchiha's house, after stopping by her house to grab a few changes of clothes, Naruto had questioned Sasuke's motives in taking Naruto away from her friends, and Sasuke, being the Tem he is, told Naruto that she wouldn't understand even if he told her, so there was no point. To make things even better, the Uchiha changed the subject by suggesting that Naruto needed to get a shower since she hadn't had one for about 4 weeks. Naruto had been bedridden, so she never got the chance to take one in the hospital. What kind of girl goes around without taking baths? I don't see how those guys could even stand to be around you. That was what made Naruto so furious. Sasuke had gone so far as to call Naruto a girl. How could he be so heartless? And Naruto didn't even get a chance to do something horrible to the Uchiha. That furthered her irritation. Naruto scrubbed her hair with the shampoo so hard that she actually dug her nails into her scalp a couple of times, but she didn't care as of right now. I'd rather not have them at all. Hey, Naruto, called Sasuke's voice from outside the bathroom. The blonde glanced at the door from behind the thin curtain that hid her from sight. What did he want? Yeah, feeling that she might as well get out now since she was done bathing, Naruto looked around for a towel and remembered that she'd placed it on the sink. She hopped out of the shower and walked towards it, looking at the door again. What do you want, Tem? She asked moodily, not forgetting about him calling her Haim-chan twice and a girl just a few minutes ago. Without thinking of the consequences of entering the bathroom, Sasuke forced the door open. He had in his hand the new set of clothes that Naruto neglected to take in the bathroom, so he figured he would be nice and give them to her. Sasuke knew that he had been cruel to the blonde after she had gotten out of the hospital, and he wanted to try and be a little nicer to her. This didn't keep Sasuke from making a comment though. When you take a shower, you're supposed to take your clothes with you, done. There was a pause between the two as the Uchiha's eyes widened at the sight. Nay, what was that you were saying? The blonde growled at him. Naruto was standing in front of the sink with a towel covering her blonde hair and only her blonde hair. The towel draped itself down Naruto's back and shoulders, but it didn't cover up her face. His eyes wandered down her curvy body, as it was completely exposed to him, and she didn't make a single move in an attempt to cover it. What the hell am I thinking? Sasuke quickly threw the clothes at Naruto, hitting her right in the face, and received a yelp as a response. He dashed out of the room and slammed the door as he went, hearing Naruto curse him for no apparent reason, just to curse him, he guessed. I just stared at Naruto's body like an idiot. What the hell's wrong with me? Leaning against the closed bathroom door, Sasuke came to realize that his heart was racing and felt something else acting up at seeing Naruto unclothed. This was the exact same reason why he had to leave Naruto after buying the ramen for her. When she had jumped all over him and said that she loved him, though she said it from the bliss of getting a free meal, Sasuke felt something from below react, so he had to leave Naruto alone while he left to calm himself down. It would be hard to calm down while Naruto was rooming with him for the next 2 nights. Hopefully someone would come and save him before he lost his mind or sense of control. This makes me as bad as that damn Kiba, thought the Uchiha bitterly when remembering the male touching Naruto inappropriately. Yes, he had seen the whole thing, but he wanted to see if Naruto was capable of protecting herself in a situation like that, which she most definitely wasn't. He had come to realize this when she wouldn't even do so much as push Kiba away when he pressed his body against hers. This upset the Uchiha greatly, but told himself that this was because Kiba was taking advantage over Naruto in the state that she was in, which he was. Good thing she had Sasuke or something bad could have resulted from that little display of Kiba, just messing around. Sasuke exhaled heavily as he made his way to his bed and flopped down on top of it to ease his fuming thoughts. What the hell was all that? It didn't make sense to Naruto. Why did Sasuke act the way he did? Guys never freaked whenever seeing one another make. Naruto looked down at herself again. Oh, I don't care about all that modest crap. I'll do whatever I want, whenever I want to. Pulling the towel off of her head, Naruto, for the first time, looked up at the mirror and saw her reflection. Is that me? The reflection's face turned a light shade of pink as Naruto continued to look at everything that had changed over such a short amount of time. Taking a step back to get another person's perspective of her body, her face turned even redder. Sure, she might have a small chest, but she was a very attractive girl. As Kiba had said, a very cute girl. Her hair was sticking up in 1,000 different directions because of the towel rubdown, but that gave her a cute bedhead look. Naruto inhaled deeply and he sighed heavily. What's wrong with the mirror, Naruto? It's NN, not the mirror. It's what's in the mirror. A bit confused at what Naruto was talking about, he turned again, but this time didn't bother with looking her body up and down. Hard as it was, but he succeeded. In fact, he managed to walk over to stand by Naruto and stared absently into the mirror. It seemed fine to him. What spooked Naruto so much? I don't see anything wrong with it. Naruto grabbed onto his arm and pulled it back and forth, making the Uchiha sway a bit to the motions. She was really starting to act like a girl. But then again, when Naruto was scared of something, she would always act like this, even when a guy, though most times, he had tried to hide it from Sasuke as if it were some competition to see who could hold in the fear longer, which was stupid since Sasuke was never moved by anything like that. The shaking of Sasuke's arm came to an abrupt stop and everything fell silent. Not wanting to look at the blonde, he quickly questioned, "Are you okay, Naruto?" He would have given her a worried look, but looking at her at all would cause a problem again. Suddenly Naruto forced him to face the door and hurriedly pushed him out of the bathroom and slammed the door, shouting, "You're a real jerk." Blinking a couple times, Sasuke tried to figure out what it was that he had done to anger Naruto. Did it really bother Naruto that much when she was told that she looked like a girl? Then again, this was the emotional Uzumaki Naruto he was dealing with, and with her now being a girl, how emotional can a person get about being told she looked like a girl if she was one? A knock at the front door brought Sasuke's thoughts to a sudden halt. He made his way to answer and opened the door to see the pink-haired female that was at one time his teammate. "What do you want?" Haruno Sakura beamed to the Uchiha, completely ignoring his rude question, and spoke cheerfully, "Hello Sasuke-kun. Tsunade told me that Naru-chan was staying with you. See, I'm supposed to take her shopping with me now that she's out of the hospital, so I came to take her." The raven-haired male tried picturing Naruto shopping. The thought was funny, but there was no way she'd want to do something like that. Then again, this was Sakura and Naruto loved Sakura. It wasn't a secret to the Uchiha. There were many times where he had to go through a game of 100 questions about Sakura with Naruto, though he knew nothing of the female either, so there was no real point for the game. "I'll tell her that you're here then." If Naruto still liked Sakura, then that means she's a lesbian. This really was too much for Sasuke to handle. He was relieved that the blonde would be leaving for a while. If she stayed much longer, then he would most likely suffer a headache. Then again, that's only stating the truth, so what was the problem? But the truth hurts in this situation. Naruto quickly forced her clothes on, dressing herself the way that she would as if she were a guy, and even spiked her hair the way it used to be. There. She didn't look too girly. Her body was still a lot smaller than it was when she was a guy, but besides that, she looked like Naruto. Well, her face was a little more feminine now, but other than that. A soft tapping on the door was made as Sasuke's voice was heard. "Sakura's here, Naruto. Something about going shopping with you." The blonde suddenly felt as if all the problems she had had just vanished from sight at the thought of Sakura. She dashed at the door and pulled it open and was about to run out, only to rush into Sasuke. What did you do that for?" Sasuke glared at Naruto. "You're the one who ran into me, Dobi," but his eyes softened when seeing how the blonde was dressed. "Is there a reason why you've decided to dress like you normally would?" Naruto quickly crossed her arms over her chest as she told Sasuke exactly how it was. "Just because my body's a girl doesn't mean I, myself, am a girl. I'll dress however I want to. What's with you anyways?" She glared up at the raven-haired male. "Does Uchiha Sasuke like me better dressed like a girl?" There was a pause. The Uchiha was obviously contemplating the question. "What happens if I say yes?" inquired Sasuke curiously as he lifted a hand to place against Naruto's cheek and caressed his fingers through the spiky blonde hair. The blonde froze. She hadn't expected anything like this from Sasuke and didn't have a comeback for it. His hand pressed softly against her face made her nervous, and the touch felt hot. I don't know." Sasuke rolled his eyes a bit. "I was just kidding," he said as he pulled his hand away from the blonde's face. "I wouldn't be stupid enough to try something like Kiba did, but really Naruto, you do need to try and fight back when someone does that." Naruto's mind was spinning very rapidly. Sasuke shouldn't do those things anymore. And when did he start kidding? It hurt Naruto's head and confused her, and disappointed her a little. Why did everything Sasuke have to be a joke right now? Naruto was really feeling bad about being a girl, but no one seemed to really care. There was a small pause until Sasuke went on to fully answer Naruto's question. "I like you either way, so it doesn't matter if I say yes or no." Nani? Naruto's heart started slamming against her chest and she got a feeling in her stomach that made her feel as if she was nauseous, making the blonde have trouble with knowing how to act suddenly, since this was how Sakura used to make her feel way back when they were 12. Damn it. Why now of all times? And towards him. "Well, I'm going shopping with Sakura-chan, so goodbye." Naruto chattered rapidly, not realizing that Sasuke could barely understand a thing coming out of her mouth. She was about to run for the door again, but there was a grab to her elbow and she fell back against Sasuke's chest. She could feel her face heat up to this. Why is he doing this to me? Is he trying to make me feel stupid? I get like this every time I touch him. Listen. NNW, what do you want now? The Uchiha turned Naruto around and held onto her shoulders, bending over slightly to stare her straight in the eye as he spoke. be careful not to do anything stupid that could get you hurt. He lightly tapped her forehead with his forefinger, pushing her head back slightly. Naruto tried to think of how to act and could only come up with one thing. She stuck her tongue out at Sasuke, like you'd care if I did. Pushed his hands away and ran for the door to go shopping with Sakura. Why am I acting this way? I don't really want to push him away, but... Sasuke watched as the two girls ventured off to go shopping with one another. It would get dark within a few hours, and if Naruto was going shopping with a girl then it wasn't going to be a quick trip. He didn't like the thought of not being by Naruto's side while she was out in Konoha where a bunch of guys like Kiba could hit on her, especially if they stayed out until it grew dark. But she would be okay if Sakura was with her. The pink-haired female wouldn't allow anyone to hurt Naruto. At least she better not. Anxiety set in the Uchiha's mind. The many possibilities of the two girls somehow getting separated rushed through his head. He could see Naruto acting like normal, just walking around cheerfully, not noticing all the eyes she attracted to herself. Some guy would make a move and the worst possible thing could happen. Endless flirting, improper touching, a bond being born. Another thing set in. What if Naruto got herself into it bad and the guy tried raping the blonde? 1. The Uchiha's eyes widened as he quickly drove his fingers to run through his hair in worry. He felt like an overprotective parent now that Naruto was a girl and it was killing him. He couldn't help it though. Naruto was an idiot and would fall for anything. Damn it. What should I do? Then again, Naruto was a pretty good fighter. She could handle herself if she got separated from Sakura, right? But Naruto's health could still be wavering. What would she be able to do if she was hurt and wouldn't be able to move much like the time she had jumped on Sasuke in the hospital? He paced the floor nervously. He wanted to go after the two girls so he could watch over Naruto, but then that would make the blonde suspicious the way she was when he had taken her away from the ramen bar. He didn't want a suspicious Naruto. What am I going to do? Yada. I'm finally out with Sakura-chan and she looks so happy. I wonder if maybe there is the possibility that she likes me, thought a very blissful blonde while gazing at Sakura admiringly. Hey, Naru-chan. What store should we go in first? Sakura asked happily as her eyes wandered about the shops they could enter. There was a stab at Naruto's heart at the title, Naru-chan. The blonde slumped over a tad, realizing that the reason for Sakura's cheerful expression was most likely because she now had a new girlfriend to talk about girly things with and didn't really like Naruto, Naruto being another girl in her eyes. She probably still likes Sasuke, thought Naruto bitterly. Her burning hatred for the male at the moment grew just thinking about him, but she rapidly went whining, why do you have to give me a girl named too, Sakura-chan? The title, Naru-chan, was just as bad as Hime-chan in Naruto's mind and she already had to go through the nurses and the doctor calling her that, not wanting to repeat it with Sakura. The pink-haired female was already used to the idea of Naruto being a girl and didn't have a problem with calling her Naru-chan, but you're a girl now and Naruto sounds too masculine for a girl. The tears that Naruto had been fighting ever since she had gotten out of the hospital started to sting her eyes, but she quickly made it look as if she meant for that to happen, pressing her arm to her eyes and whining, not you too, Sakura-chan. Why must everyone treat me as a girl now? Is it that easy to think of me that way? 2. There was a giggle from Sakura, thinking that Naruto was joking as usual and she lightly pulled Naruto into an apologetic hug. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Azure eyes met with Sakura's pretty green ones as the two of them hugged one another. How could she say no to Sakura when she looked so sweet and sincere? Plus, she got a hug out of it. Yeah. With that Sakura broke the comforting hug and happily went on to pull Naruto into the nearest shop. Great. Now let's go in here first, Naru-chan. It has a lot of cute dresses that I bet would look good on you. Dresses. It took a moment before the word seemed to have significant value. "DDD dresses," stammered the horror-stricken blonde. Sakura sounded a little too happy as she spoke. "Yeah. I think you would look adorable in a dress." "Why me?" Naruto could accept Sakura calling her Naru-chan, but putting her into dresses now. Why did Naruto take Sakura up on her offer to go shopping anyways? Oh, yeah, because it was Sakura that she was going with. That meant time that the two of them could have alone. Oh, and Naru-chan, we'll be meeting up with a few more people that want to help look for kawaii clothes for you. Naruto mentally felt a knife sink into her again. So much for it being just us together, thought the blonde mournfully. You know, Sakura trailed off as she flipped through a rack of dresses, picking out a pink frilly one. Naruto flinched at the sight. I think any of these dresses would look cute on you. Really, the look in Sakura's eyes said that she wanted to put the pink garment on Naruto. Put that pink thing on me, Sakura-chan, and I'll never be able to forgive you even if you plead on your hands and knees. Sakura gave Naruto's orange and black jacket a disgusted look. You just need to get rid of that. Naruto looked down at her jacket. No way in hell. I happen to like my jacket. No one can separate me from it. The pink frilly dress made its way in front of Naruto's view of her jacket. Sakura had apparently wanted to get a mental image of how it would look on the blonde as she seemed to be very serious and calculating about the whole thing, as if she were some kind of expert in this area. This caused Naruto's face to scrunch up in disgust and her mouth fell agape at the sight of the thing touching her. She thought for a moment that the horrid pink thing was burning her, but she was mistaken. It was only her eyes that stung from the sight of the ugly garment resting against her own clothes. It could never take the place of Naruto's jacket. Ah, this would look so cute on you, Naru-chan. You just need to fix your hair so it won't take away the good looks from your cute figure. Sakura quickly ran her fingers through the blonde spikes of hair as an idea hit her suddenly and she grabbed Naruto by the wrist, pulling her to the nearest bathroom. What did I get myself into? The blonde pulled on a lock of her hair gently, not used to having it sitting straight. It looked the way it had when the nurses fixed it up and Sakura had even pulled the jacket from being tucked in to give her the same cutesy look she had had earlier. At least I'm wearing my jacket. Sakura had wanted to buy Naruto that thing that Sakura swore up and down looked cute on Naruto. She had gone so far as to actually dress the blonde in the hideous pink garment, making Naruto look ridiculous in her opinion. Just as she had mentally thought, she would never be able to forgive Sakura for dressing her in that pink dress. It was humiliating. Now the two of them were patiently waiting for the people that Sakura had said would be joining them. They stood outside of the dress shop that they had recently been in and Sakura went on to talk about other girly things they could do. All the things she mentioned scared the poor blonde into never wanting to hang out with Sakura again. Things such as getting a perm together, getting their nails done, going and seeing chick flicks. The list kept going and going, making Naruto fear her future life being a girl. Hey! Called Sakura to a group of people heading for them. Obviously they were the group that Sakura had arranged to meet with. Ino, Tenten, Hinata, over here. Naruto groaned. Here she was already stuck with Sakura, an apparent girly girl at times. But now it was different. She also had to put up with Ino, she being worse than Sakura when it came to girl matters. Then there was Tenten. She, like Sakura, also liked the color pink, but other than that Naruto couldn't think of how girly she was. Hinata would probably be Naruto's savior. She didn't act too girly nor did she show a hatred for jackets since she wore one as well. Right, so I should probably stick around with Hinata for the majority of the time. The group quickly made their way to Sakura and Naruto, Ino and Tenten complimenting the blonde on how cute she was even though she was wearing that ugly jacket. This comment came from Ino, but Naruto ignored it as Sakura agreed with the other blonde girl that the jacket was indeed ugly. I don't see anything wrong with Naruto-kun's jacket, stuttered Hinata a little sheepishly. Naruto's eyes widened. What did you just call me, Hinata? The blonde quickly inquired as she made a grab at the girl's shoulders and looked her right in the eyes. The Hyuga girl's face turned red as she stammered, Naruto-kun. Scared that maybe the name was offensive to Naruto now that she was a girl. Owa. The blonde quickly glommed into Hinata, keep calling me that. It makes me happy. Hinata was the only one that bothered to call Naruto the same thing she always called her without acting weird about it, unlike a certain Uchiha, and that really meant something to her. After quickly asking Hinata if she was okay since she kind of collapsed when Naruto let her go, the group started off to go shopping. Naruto stayed by Hinata's side, afraid of what the other girls might force her into if she stayed near them while looking over the clothing. Hinata didn't look at dresses and instead looked at more normal things such as shirts and jackets. This made Naruto very happy as she chattered to the Hyuga girl about everything since they had last met and thanked her upon remembering the fact that she had wanted to give Naruto a bowl of ramen to cheer her up while in the hospital, receiving a blush as a response and a quick, "You're welcome." If only the entire shopping spree could have gone like that, but no. Many times did the blonde get dragged off to try on a number of things that Ino, Sakura, and Tenten picked out for her. Ino and Sakura picking out the most girly outfits Naruto had ever seen. Some even had cutesy lace. Naruto thought she might gag when seeing herself in these types of clothes, while Tenten didn't pick out too girly of things, but they weren't to Naruto's liking either. At least they didn't have lace, though Naruto was a little mournful. Once the group had come together again outside of the previous shop, only a couple bags of clothing in hand since Naruto was what Ino and Sakura called picky. Naruto thought of something that these girls might be good at that could help her. Hey, what would you girls do if you wanted to get back at a guy for being mean and insensitive towards you? Naruto decided that she wanted to know how a girl would handle this kind of matter and see if any of their ideas would be fun to try. Hyuga glanced over to the blonde and quickly whispered, "Are you talking about Sasuke-kun?" Naruto had told her of everything that the Uchiha had done to her since she got out of the hospital, so Hinata suspected that Naruto meant him. Naruto quickly shushed her and whispered back, "I'm dealing with two of the biggest Sasuke fans, so I can't mention names here or else I won't get any feedback from them." And looked back to the pondering girls. "Beat the hell out of the guy," spoke an irritated Sakura. There was a moment of silence as the four girls stared at Sakura a little confused, but Naruto had suspicion as to who it was. The only guy she seemed to really detest at times and beat up was Sai. No. Ino glared at Sakura, "What you do is embarrass the hell out of the guy, not beat him. What fun is that?" The two girls scowled at one another as they argued over the matter, repeating, "Beat him, embarrass him," over and over until Naruto's attention was brought to Tenten out of boredom. She was ignoring the other two as she looked to be in deep thought. "It really depends on," her brown eyes met azure, "whether you like the guy or not." Both Naruto's and Hinata's faces glowed red. Why would I like a guy? Especially that one, shouted the now fuming blonde, not giving thought to the fact that she was now a girl so it wouldn't exactly be considered strange. Tenten quickly placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder and whispered to her, "Just tell me if you do or don't. If you do then I can help you, if you don't then you're better off with information from Ino or Sakura." The thing was, Naruto didn't want to beat up or embarrass Sasuke. Beating him up would probably get her into trouble and she would most likely get a few scars as well. As for embarrassing him, she'd love to do that, but she didn't know what would embarrass him, so that was ruled out immediately. Naruto glanced at Hinata. The Hyuga wouldn't have any ideas for getting back at someone because she was too sweet to do something such as that. I guess I'll have to go with what Tenten has to give me, but that means I have to admit that I like the Tem. Okay, I, kind of, like this guy. It felt like something had struck Naruto at admitting this bit of information. Her heart started racing and she felt her face grow hot. Why do I keep feeling this way when anything has to do with him? It's really pissing me off. I mean, sure, I like Sasuke, but I don't feel, do I? She felt the look of surprise that Hinata gave her, Hinata being the only one that knew who it was they were talking about, and felt embarrassed. She turned quickly to the Hyuga and whispered in her ear so Tenten wouldn't hear, I'd never like him, so don't worry about it, Hinata. I just need some way to get back at Hwa. There was a grab at Naruto's wrist as Tenten pretty much kidnapped her from the excited girl, hurriedly calling over her shoulder to the other three, hey, don't worry about what Naruto just said, I can take care of this. Leaving 2/3 of the group a little puzzled as to what had happened since they were arguing so much with one another. Naruto, still contemplating previous thoughts, let Tenten pull her away from the group, but was a little nervous with why they had to be away from everyone else to be told what to do for vengeance. Was it something that bad or what? The two of them entered a nearby store that Naruto wasn't very happy to see, it being a shop of girls' undergarments. Thankfully Tenten paid none of the items any attention and marched straight to the back of the store and into the dressing room area. Naruto was forced into a small dressing compartment with Tenten following right behind her. First question, Naruto spoke to the girl excitedly. The blonde blinked a couple of times at her enthusiasm towards getting back at someone for her. Okay, what is it? Tenten's face grew mischievous as she asked, do you know how to seduce? Naruto sat there, slowly putting two and two together. Seduce.